Hello and welcome to another episode of the People of Payments. My name is Nathan, founder of Source Civic Talent, and today I'm joined by the amazing Katie Hayes, Head of Marketing for the immensely innovative Series A startup that is Ozone API. It's also important to highlight, certainly for the conversation we're having today, that along with being Head of Marketing, Katie is also one of the culture champions within Ozone API and a huge advocate for all things DE&I. To this point, she also volunteers her time at the Open Banking Expo and AMEX's Women in Open Banking community, where she is an active mentor. And for sure, we're going to be diving into that during this podcast. Katie, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. How are things?
Hi, Nathan. Thanks so much for having me. It's great to be here today. The year is busy. It's exciting. And all things open banking are really happening.
Absolutely. Fast paced and not showing any signs of slowing down. But I guess a great place to start, as always, is going to be just to get some insights to your background, right? Because you're Ozone API now within that fintech industry, but you haven't always been in the fintech space. So give us a bit of introduction to your side and what ultimately led you to where you are today.
Sure. So I've had quite a varied background in terms of my career. As you can hear from my accent, I'm originally from South Africa. And back in the day, I studied journalism and media studies. I've worked for big advertising agencies and then within in-house teams. And being exposed in that agency life, I worked with some corporate brands, some financial institutions. I also worked for a nonprofit called We Think Code in South Africa, which is in the tech space. And I would say predominantly working in digital marketing, but I've moved towards being more of a generalist marketer. And how have I landed up at Ozone API? The opportunity presented itself just over 2 years ago to be the first marketing hire, to set up a marketing team, to do a rebrand. And I was like, sign me up. This sounds really exciting.
And I think the way of the world right now in the marketing space is that more people are having to become generalists, right? Because and especially in that startup world, you have to be able to wear multiple different hats. And I think with the change within the marketing ecosystem from lead generation into much more demand generation and that full funnel marketing, it's a direction I think many people are having to take, right? Um,
For sure. And I think there's a combination of obviously B2C, B2C, B2B,
yeah,
and you can actually combine both. And I think the skill sets that you use across industries are relevant. But you definitely in the startup world do become a journalist, do sharpen skills that you may have not used previously.
absolutely. Sounds good. All right. And so Ozone API, I mean, they're doing some incredible stuff right now in the open banking and open finance as we kind of move into that realms moving forward. Recently secured £8.5 million investment at Series A. So huge congratulations, first of all, there, because the economic circumstances we find ourselves in are certainly not favourable to startups who are looking to raise investment. So clearly doing something right. um,
Thank you. Yeah, it's really exciting.
Absolutely. And look, for those who haven't heard of Ozone API at the moment, I mean, to give some insights, and I know you'll delve into this a little bit more, or much more detail, really. Ozone API ultimately provide the technical platforms which enables banks and financial institutions to really work together. And certainly on that compliance side, when it comes to exposing customer data and ensuring that that is done in a standardized, secure and compliant manner, right? Um, I mean, when you look at Ozone API, what do you see as the kind of real unique value proposition you're bringing to the market, and what has ultimately led you to secure the success and the investment that you've had?
Sure. So what we do at Ozone API is we empower banks and financial institutions to adapt and thrive in this new world of open finance. And we provide the open API and technology that delivers compliant APIs that goes beyond and enables banks to monetize the opportunity. So a USP for us is that we have been very involved from the start with developing regulations and standards around open banking. Our three co-founders were independent consultants when they were leading the development of the UK open banking standards. And that's really put us in a position as pioneers in this
Yep.
space. So what we do is we make sure that all our technology supports all major global open banking standards, which is really important and is updated in real time.
Okay, amazing. And I guess with the founders being so, I guess, instrumental in the launching of this space, right? To have that credibility behind your business, I mean, that has to absolutely have driven some of that success you've seen. But alongside that, of course, the team they've been able to generate around them have just been incredible. And I've seen that firsthand from various conversations I've had with people. Um,
Exactly. And maybe just to add to that, so with the investment, we're really excited to have secured the 8.5 million, and that is enabling us to grow our team globally because as the global demand increases, we need more people on the ground. So our team is growing substantially across the world. We have people in the UK, we have a big India office, we have general managers in Brazil, Dubai, Canada. It's a very exciting time for us as we grow so that we can cater to this increasing demand.
Absolutely, and look, the right time to be in the space as well. With everything changing so frequently from a regulatory perspective, that there's so many challenges that companies are facing in terms of not only how do they keep up, but certainly from the banking side, how do they start to implement and potentially even monetize some of these kind of compliance and regulatory changes that are coming through, right? So, extremely hot space that you guys are sitting in right now. So, power to the elbow to keep it going forward, right?
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
and look, I know something that's really important to you, both professionally as well as personally, is also DE&I, as we mentioned, so diversity, equality, and inclusivity. Um, even to the point where you are really a culture champion, as we mentioned earlier, for Ozone API, and you've really taken on that kind of responsibility. But also, you, as we mentioned, you volunteer your time at the AMEX and Open Banking Expo for Women in Open Banking Initiative. So, when you look through your career, is there a critical point where actually this started to become something that really sparked some interest for you, and when was that?
Sure. I think in recent years there was a moment that sparked my interest when I was working for that nonprofit called We Think Code in South Africa. It's an initiative where it's an organization that provides free education for aspiring software engineers. And my role was marketing and sourcing, so sourcing candidates to apply to join the course and to join a selection boot camp. And in that process, we saw a lot of social economic elements that came into play, a lot of women dropping out of the boot camp, which led me to ask the question why and how can we help better support women to get into the industry. So that was the start for me. I've also since then, been in a number of roles where I've joined ESG project groups, for instance, most recently with the Payments Association. And yeah, the opportunity to join Ozone and to have an impact as a culture champion was right up my alley.
Yep, absolutely. And I think there's a lot of things to be done in this space, right? Certainly around that piece. And I think it's great to see, so many people kind of step into this type of role. We had another conversation recently with some of the people over at Bridge that have done exactly the same kind of concept around really trying to champion that DE&I piece. And I think the work that you're doing within some of these kind of volunteer roles and being a mentor is absolutely admirable, right? There's no getting away from that. And
Yeah, I think that the fintech industry is really good at that as well. There are a number of initiatives, as you say. There's Open Banking Expo and AMEX's Women in Open Banking, which is a great initiative. Joanne Dua is also leading on Purple Thursday, which is doing more sort of inclusive online content. There are a number of initiatives that are really making positive strides
yeah,
in the space.
amazing. Sounds good. Okay, so the way I look at DE&I, right, is that diversity itself, in my opinion, and this might be controversial, um, is really just a KPI, right? Because when you kind of dive into what diversity actually means, it is a case of trying to make sure you have a diverse team of people around you, and you kind of need to look at that as a metric. But it's the behaviors that then you need to encourage, you need to foster within the business around ensuring that inclusivity and ensuring that people have the opportunity to bring ideas to the table, share different perspectives, and really kind of get the value from having that diverse team in the first place. Um, I mean, what have you done internally with Ozone API to, I guess, foster that type of behavior around the inclusivity. Um, and I think there's a real connect here that not only are you a female in a senior position in the business yourself, you're also in a marketing role, you're a diversity champion, and I think when you look at diversity, it's also about how you attract talent into your business and continue to kind of bring that awareness. So not only what have you done in the business to champion this, but also what have you done from an employer branding piece as somebody in marketing to help communicate that with the audience?
Sure. So when I joined Ozone API, I'd asked a couple of questions around specifically how are we getting more women involved in the organization and to join the organization. And then the opportunity came for me to take the lead on behalf of our senior leadership team to champion company culture. So I've worked collaboratively with the senior management team to foster our company culture. And especially now, it's going to be so critical around how we scale this company culture as we grow so rapidly. What have I done to date? So we have introduced an onboarding boot camp process. We want to make sure that we are bringing people in, setting them up for success from the start, and making sure that they are welcomed into an inclusive environment. So what we've done is we've trialed an onboarding boot camp, which we continue to optimize. We've introduced a buddy system, especially for a remote first team. That's really important to make sure that everyone is connected and getting that face to face time. Then some other initiatives that we've done, I introduced a monthly knowledge sharing session. And the idea behind that is that anyone within the organization can pick a topic and can present to the entire company. And great opportunity for them to practice their public speaking, to also educate them. So we've had, for instance, an intern presenting on how to build a business plan. We have our head of people doing a session on how you can research and learn using TikTok in a couple of weeks. So quite varied topics, but the opportunity there is to share knowledge, and then in the second half of the session to have casual virtual coffee catch-ups with somebody who's outside of your team and in another location. So again, bringing that face-to-face time.
Okay, nice. And I think something that strikes me there is that I mean, you have interns doing presentations, right? And for a lot of businesses, that's kind of unheard of. They expect it to come from the top down, and I think that's one of those really important things that a lot of people need to get more awareness around. Is that actually, you know, you hire people in a business to fill the gaps in people's experience, not to try and get a team of everybody that's thinking the same and act the same. And I think giving people who are more junior in the business, such as an intern or whatever position they might hold, the opportunity to share their insights and make them feel like they are truly having an impact in the business, that's really going to set them up for success, right? And some of those ideas can genuinely be incredible and just something that people that have got a lot more of experience and maybe a little bit more used to cutting some corners may just not have even thought about.
Yeah, I think we have some sort of hierarchy in terms of our
Of
organizational
course.
structure, but the company culture is very collaborative, and we really are always open to anyone who has a great idea, and those sorts of opportunities are fantastic for anyone at any level.
Yeah.
So that's really an important component of the company culture. I think for myself, I've also come in and facilitated a number of conversations with the board on how we can review some of our policies to make them more inclusive. So, for instance, enhanced parental leave. And they've been really receptive to that, and we have made really good strides.
Amazing. And I guess as you start to expand globally, as we mentioned, that is the big goal of yours at the moment and already in motion, there is going to be some complexities, of course, as there always will be in terms of trying to unify that company culture um, in ultimately what is different countries and therefore also different cultures. So how have you kind of already started to map out a plan for how you're going to achieve that, or is it going to be very much a case of trying to build those champions in the different locations for them to also support and mentor you guys in terms of the differences?
Yeah, it's a very important consideration. And what we're trying to strike the balance with is not being a a full-blown corporate where this is the process, everything must be cookie cutter.
Yeah.
We are a startup, we are agile, we are a great diverse mix of many people from all over the world, different cultures. So we have a nuanced approach for each location, and that will continue to develop in terms of our people planning and company culture strategy. So we have quite a big team based in an office in Pune in India. A lot of their onboarding is a lot more face to face. They have a lot more slightly nuanced traditions, holidays, celebrations that they incorporate into the mix, which may look quite different from the team meeting up in London, for
Yeah.
instance.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. So a lot to do there in terms of kind of forward planning and making sure that's still aligned as well. But it seems like it's certainly on the right direction, right?
Yes, really exciting. And something that I didn't touch on earlier around that employee storytelling component. That's a big component of what we're doing in marketing. And as a business as a whole, we have a Life at Ozone API LinkedIn page where we are sharing authentic stories. We're doing a lot of bite-sized fun content, meet the team. And that's really a great platform to showcase our talent
Yeah.
globally.
And I think even with you being on the podcast today, right, it's showing that you are taking more initiatives to be able to share that story and get some insights. Because look, the aim from this podcast is to really get some insights to your journey and your background as an individual, but also learn a bit more about Ozone API and hopefully share that with my network, which of course is full of incredible talent. You never know what might just come out of that as well. All right. Um, but look, for anyone listening or watching the podcast that still believes that diversity is truly just a checkbox exercise, I mean, when you look at the benefits that you guys have seen from implementing this type of culture, what have been some of those core takeaways where you've seen a real advantage?
For us at Ozone API, it's really important that everyone who joins is a good culture fit, and in the non-toxic way completely. We have many talented people who we onboard and we give them the space to thrive. And that's really important to us. So I think the biggest success metric is seeing that we are having a successful uh, recruitment and retention. So those retention statistics are very telling. We have a very low turnover rate. Obviously, we're in a very high growth stage right now,
Yeah.
but I think that's really important.
Nice, awesome. All right, and so now diving a little bit more into the open banking and the open finance side of things. So there's just so much innovation happening in this space right now, and I think there's also a lot more acceptance happening within the market as they become more confident in its capabilities, more aware that it's kind of mitigating risks, and of course with companies like yourself making sure that there is compliance and regulations that's being kind of really initiated and followed. Um, when you look at the innovation, though, it's really kind of been driven by consumer behaviors, right? So it comes to things such as account-to-account payments to reduce friction at the checkouts. You have virtual recurring payments coming through, which is just providing much more flexibility to um, allowing those kind of fluid options for payments. Um, when you look at the hottest trends right now from your perspective, I mean, what are you seeing as the big trends right now, and what do you see for the future of open banking and open finance?
So I think, as you say, end customers may not even be realize that they're using products that are using open banking. So if you think about digital wallets for those account-to-account payments, anyone using Apple Pay, Google Pay, PayPal or Stripe, we're seeing a lot of new providers, buy now, pay later, like Klarna. They released a big press release a couple of months ago around how they're using open banking. I think from an end user perspective, that expectation to have seamless, speedy experiences is going to continue, and that will lead on for embedded finance as well. For us, we are trying to make sure that we are that tip at the head of the spear in terms of where open banking is happening globally. We're seeing a lot of exciting growth in the Middle East, in Latin America, and in North America next. So we're focusing on those areas, working with partners, engaging with central banks and regulators to see how we can help set up open banking frameworks and the implementation for that.
Nice, absolutely. And I think with the yeah, again, with the space you're in and how fast this is moving as an industry, right? It's such a hot topic. I mean, are you seeing what are you seeing as the biggest challenge in the industry from a compliance perspective with businesses? Are you seeing it as a case of trying to keep up, or are you seeing it as there's other elements that are causing challenges?
For sure, I think the regulatory aspect of it is really important. We have some countries that have regulations, others that are more market led. And we've actually created a tool called the Global Open Data Tracker, which you can find on our website, where we have a standards library which shows you all the open banking standards that currently exist. And goes into a bit more detail around that. We also have an innovation atlas, which showcases what's happening in which country around the world. So there's a lot of work still to be done. Certain regions are moving a lot slower than others, but I think we're going to continue to see an acceleration of open banking takeover. And then I think a challenge is obviously build versus buy. A lot of big banks have tried to build internally. Always better to work with a fintech like ourselves to get their open banking strategy on track.
Absolutely, absolutely, and it completely makes sense, right? I think there's a lot of that going on right now, and no, I want to bring it back slightly to the work you're doing within the women of open banking space. Um, now, very kindly, you sent me across some stats that talks about that specific group, which is the Amex and women. I've lost it myself now.
Open banking
Which is
expo.
the Women and Open Banking
It is
Expo.
quite a mouthful.
It's such a mouthful to get through, right? But to give some insights around the stats, so we've got 569 members of people within the Women in Open Banking community, right? 373 are based in the UK. Others are based across Canada, Australia, Europe, and the US. You have 26 new mentor-mentee relationships in the most recent cohort that was released. 85 total number of mentor and mentee pairings through the mentoring scheme so far. And you had 123 members sign up in the first month of the initiative, and finally 250 more members in a WhatsApp group. I mean, there's some big numbers, right? And I guess when you look at the kind of mission that you guys are on as a team to move this forward, and I appreciate you're doing this completely voluntarily as other mentors within the group. Um, what is the big mission? What is the kind of goal that you're looking to achieve?
Sure. So maybe just to add a caveat, I'm not going to take any credit for what's been set up. As you say, I signed up for the first cohort as a mentor and have mentored a woman in Brazil, a product marketer. And but what Amex and Open Banking Expo are doing, they've created this community of women in open banking, which really facilitates and connects women from all over the world. As you can see with those stats, they've had really impressive growth. What they're doing, they're hosting quarterly events. The WhatsApp group is very active. I would encourage anyone, if you're interested in finding out more, to head over to Open Banking Expo's website. They have a tab around women in open banking, around the initiative with the clear vision, and all of that. But I think really what it's doing, it's facilitating and creating a community that is very welcoming and inclusive, which will help more women get into the industry, but also support women's growth within the industry. So those mentorship partnerships or collaborations are hugely beneficial to help develop women's careers within the open banking space.
Fantastic. And look, what we'll do, we'll put a link to the website where people can find out more information about how to join within the captions for this video. So please, if you are interested, make sure you head over there. It's a great community. They're doing some really great stuff. Yeah, for anybody looking to move into the fintech space, it's a really great starting point and looking to really build out that diverse platform. All right. Um, but Katie, it's been a pleasure speaking with you, and I know just how busy you are at the moment. So for you to take some time out, we're honoured to have been able to speak with you on this. Um, wish you all the very best with Ozone API and the mission that you guys are on. It sounds like an amazing journey, and the continued scale as you go globally. And yeah, so look forward to keeping in touch and speaking again in the future.
Thanks so much, Nathan. It's been great to chat to you today.